Good morning. You all look really great from up here. My name is Caron Armstrong, and I'm on staff here at the Fellowship, serving as the Director of Congregational Life. I've been on staff for 12 and a half years, and I consider it a privilege to work alongside you all. Whether you're new to this community or have been a member for longer than I've been here, I'm fortunate to hear so many of your stories that connect you to each other and to this fellowship. So today, I'll share bits of some of your stories, and in a few minutes, I'll ask you to lift your own voices as we talk about what it means to be a radically welcoming community. But first, a vocabulary lesson. I serve on the national board of my professional organization, the UU Association of Membership Professionals, UUAMP. We have an annual conference, much like the one our music director, Mignon Dobbins, described in last week's service. June of 2020 was a time when those of us who work in the ministry of membership were desperate for inspiration as we attempted to understand and navigate the early months of the pandemic. Our keynote speaker at the 2020 UUAMP virtual conference was an amazing human named Alex Capitan. Alex is many wonderful things, including but not limited to being a self-proclaimed radical copy editor. I'm going to say those words again, radical copy editor. A radical copy editor helps people align their words with their values. Radical copy editing helps language live up to its most radical potential, serving the ends of access, inclusion, and liberation, rather than maintaining oppression and the status quo. Greg, would you mind putting up that slide, please? Thank you. Alex's keynote address in June of 2020 was titled Radical Welcome, a Transformational Culture Shift. It was brilliant. Alex told a story about a dinner party to illustrate the important nuanced differences in the definitions of invitation, inclusion, and radical welcome. Some of my next remarks defining these terms are either directly quoted or paraphrased from Alex, the radical copy editor. So what does an invitation to a dinner party look like? The invitation goes out to everyone. All are welcome. It's a genuine invitation, but there may be some barriers to accessibility and authentic welcome. There may be stairs to navigate in the building. The menu might include foods that some guests can't eat. Are children part of the all when we say all are welcome? So how does that apply to congregations? When we invite someone into our community, we say, come and join us and share our values. We invite others to the party with an expectation that they will accept and assimilate to the ways we do things here. We're friendly, and we truly want it to be true that all are welcome. And sometimes, possibly even often, we may miss the barriers inherent in the invitation. So at a minimum, would you all say that we are, at a minimum, an inviting congregation? Yeah. I'd like to quote Mary Lou Ricks, who is a relative newcomer, but quickly is beginning to feel like a friend. She says, "A tragedy brought me here, but I continue because I have felt there to be soul brothers and sisters. Your fellowship welcomes with open arms." Yes, we're an inviting congregation. Now on to the word inclusion. The dinner party hosts reach out to guests and let them know the menu. And they might even ask if anybody has dietary restrictions or preferences. We're having lasagna, but there will also be salad. The hosts want the event to be a place for people to feel at home, but the burden is on those guests who are different to find a way to fit in. Salad. How does that apply to congregations? There's a desire for diversity and surface level attempts to acknowledge differences from the norm, but generally no deeper efforts at culture shifts. We might form groups to provide supportive space for people who share an identity or a demographic. But is there also space for equitable access to practices, power, decision-making? Does everyone really have a say about what's on the menu? So would you say that along with extending an open-armed invitation, we are also inclusive here at the fellowship? Oh, I'm hearing yes and maybe. We'll have to explore that further. Here's a comment from one of our newer members. There seems to be a sense of ownership sometimes by members that make me feel I'm being assessed rather than accepted. Overall, I feel there's more positive than negative, and I accept that the fellowship is comprised of humans that are just that. Sometimes it's hard to fully bring into the fold a total stranger. So as a congregation, we extend open-armed invitations, and generally we have the best of intentions about being inclusive. Those intentions include a dedicated effort to greet you at the door and let you know, whether you're a first-time visitor, and I see many today, welcome, or a seasoned member, we're glad you're here. That's all really good stuff. We do it well, and we're always looking for ways to do it better. Now back to the dinner party. The host put out an invitation for an upcoming event with the intention of genuinely including all who wish to participate. Is it radically welcoming, though? A radically welcoming event is co-created. The menu is created with attention to the unique differences of the guests and with a desire for their input. Keeping these differences in mind ensures the presence of everyone, not in spite of their differences, but because of the added value. Curiosity is key. Questions are asked early in the planning. Can everyone access the venue? Is the time of day good? Maybe we make it a brunch or a lunch instead of a dinner during winter days when the days are short. What can we do to be sure that everyone, truly everyone, feels invited, included, and radically welcome to bring their whole selves? Would you say we're radically welcoming here at the fellowship? Mixed answers. Okay, so let me just take a minute and acknowledge that if any of you have ever planned an event of any kind, it's extremely likely that right now you're thinking, how the heck could anyone pull off a radically welcoming party like that? Well, here's the key. Communities that strive to be radically welcoming understand the basic building block of revolutionary radical welcome. That basic building block is relationships. When we relate to each other, be it a short greeting or an intimate conversation, we learn about what's important to a person. This curiosity, this knowing, provides fertile ground for radical welcome. We organically consider the needs and desires of others as we come to know each other. Have you ever met anyone who has the gift of remembering details about other people? And I don't mean that kind of gossipy, spill the tea kind of way, but someone who might say, I know you love okra, so I've saved you a bag, that kind of way. And it's also lucky that same person knows that his choir buddy abhors okra. These might seem like superficial details, but are they? In relationships, when we connect, then value that connection out loud, then act on it, that's an incredibly powerful welcome. When we do this as part of a community culture, invitationally, intentionally, inclusively, as a community, that's the type of radical welcome that celebrates our covenantal faith. When I asked members and friends to share their stories of being welcomed here at the fellowship, I heard from Dale Cole. He said, I was impressed by the genuine compassion and hospitality of the people I met. Many of the members introduced themselves and welcomed me. I returned the following Sunday and was truly blown away by the people that welcomed me back, and every one of them actually remembered my name. Janet Lowe says, we had always known the UU Fellowship had the values we would connect with, and for about 5 years before we ever visited, we would joke when we drove by on Robin Hood Road, look, there's our church. We initially attended all the potlucks and other social events, and our children were always welcomed. Marjorie Gelbin and Donna Schmidt in particular were very friendly to us and our children. We've always said, we came for our children, we stayed for ourselves. Another longtime member says, there was one couple, Marjorie and Arnold Gelbin, who took the time to talk to me for a few minutes. Because of them, I chose to come back and eventually join the fellowship. Dinner circles helped me get to know a lot more people and helped break barriers and created more intimate atmospheres for developing friendships. And from Emily Honeycutt on the deep welcome extended to her daughter. The thing that struck me the most about the fellowship is how welcoming you were of me and my brand new baby girl. I was looking for a place to raise her with like-minded people, and I felt that her presence was truly honored. And our own Greg Jamback shares, we can't generate everything for our members. All we can do is create an environment where they are free to build relationships, support causes, and create on their own. UUFWS is where my friends are. I couldn't leave even if I wanted to. We're glad about that, Greg. And this from another member. I feel I can discuss anything and lighten my load as well as help others along their journey. It's the personal connections that keep me showing up. So these are just a few stories lifted up from our members, stories that show the importance of relationships in this community. What I'd like to do now is hear from more of you if you're willing. Let's just take a moment. Close your eyes if you'd like to. Think of a time when you felt not only invited and included, but radically welcomed. Think of a time here at the fellowship or someplace else. Someplace you felt like you could bring your whole self, comfortable that you would be accepted for all of who you are. We have a few minutes to share with each other. If you'd like to share your brief reflection, raise your hand and we'll bring the microphone to you. Please remain masked when you speak. For our Zoom participants, please use the chat feature to share. Yes, thank you. We're going to share the Zoom screen, so if you're willing, please turn your camera on so your friends in the fellowship hall can see you. Often our Zoom audience gets to see you all in the fellowship hall, and we're hoping today you can also see some of your friends who are attending on Zoom. Camera's on if you're willing, brave folks. If you'd like to speak, I'd like you to say your name, very briefly describe the setting, and tell us about what was happening at a time when you felt radically welcomed. Keep in mind that keeping your stories brief is the best way to welcome the stories of others. Would anyone like to share? Oh, Jack, do you have the mic? Yeah. AJ has her hand up.
My name is AJ. It actually is Ann Johnston. Everybody calls me AJ. How do I explain what I felt in radical welcome? This has been the week from hell. My partner's in the hospital with a massive infection. I've been trying to work, take care of the house, take care of the animals, take care of the pets, take care of the car, take care of the bills, take care, keep everything afloat. And I'm running out of steam. And I got the most wonderful card in the mail from this fellowship saying, if I need anything, contact so-and-so. That little piece, when all hell was breaking loose in my life, was like, wow. So in that context, I consider that a radical welcome.
Thank you, AJ.
One of the first things I noticed when I came here was that, I don't know if everybody has been in the kitchen or been here to eat, but we have real plates, real silverware, real glasses, even wine glasses, and cloth napkins. What that said to me was that these people eat together. It's important that we eat together. Because who do you eat with? You eat with the people you like. And so that said to me, we like each other. It was very moving.
Thank you, Joy. Oh, oh, yeah.
Karen is also doing double tasking and responding on Zoom. I don't know how she does it. But I also can't remember if I ever said my name earlier, but I'll say it again. It's Mia Young. And one of the times that I felt radically welcome, I think it's when there were programming that were especially created for people of color. I'm pretty used to being one of the only Asian people in the room. But in this particular congregation, I think it could be particularly intimidating to be a person of color, to feel like you can bring your true, authentic self in. I've really appreciated Karen and other people kind of creating a space where I can be with other people who are not white. No offense to people who are white, but just that the everyday lived experience is different. And it was very special to most recently come with Ann Zimmerman, Misako, and Mariella and I. It was just the four of us. We had a really great, soul-enriching time. So thank you.
Thanks, Mia.
I would like to talk about a conversation I had with Mia, who we had not met in person, but when John was going through a lot of his suffering, including losing cognitive ability, we had a wonderful deep phone call where she because those of us who use often are so focused on our intellect and our cognitive ability, that she really helped me be able to embrace him as a person who didn't have those abilities in the same way. And so she offered me something very precious at a really critical time.
Thank you. I'll share what Pat Reck has put on the chat here. Close to 35 years ago, I walked into the service on a Sunday morning in the old UU building, and Martha Sputus walked up to me and asked if I was a visitor and welcomed me with open arms, figuratively. Martha is now a resident at Salem Town and not able to attend in person, but still is a genuine UU. Well, thank you all for sharing. Oh, you want to say something, Carol? Okay.
I remember when we came here in 1999 and meeting kind of our senior members. We would have been called the UU youngest group, but we didn't have that then. But I just remember being welcomed by Bill and Barbara Roberts, the Gelbins, the Sputuses. I mean, this whole group of people that I am now in their age group now welcomed all of us middle-agers at the time, the Riconos and the Schmidts and the Motzingers and all this with our kids, and they helped us, mentor us as we raised our kids through the teenage years.
Thank you, Carol. So I'm not surprised to hear names mentioned, and maybe some of the things you thought of or will think of after leaving here today will call to mind. Some people, some relationships, individuals, or broader than that, as you continue to think about times that you felt fully, radically welcomed. So here's the question of the day. Why are we talking about this? Why, as a faith community, should we strive? Hold on, my file's trying to quit on me. There we go. Well, ever the Girl Scout, I'm prepared. I just knew it would do this. I don't know how I knew, but I just knew it would do this. How many pages are we in? Hold on. Sorry about that. Okay, I'll start that over. So here's the question of the day. Why are we talking about this? Why, as a faith community, should we strive to build authentic relationships with each other? Are we just here to make friends and build relationships with each other? The quick answer is no. We don't just exist as a community to make friends. But in a world that's increasingly challenging, we need Unitarian Universalist principles. We need each other. We need authentic relationships that strengthen us to go out into that world. The fellowship's shared vision is that we strive to be a compassionate faith community, and our mission says that we care for each other. But it doesn't end there. We strive to foster spiritual growth, protect and preserve the earth, and work for peace and justice. When we get this right, we lift up our fellowship covenant. When we misstep, we lean on our fellowship covenant. We begin our covenant with these very words. See my red arrow? You can't miss it. This is what's at the top of our covenant. As a beloved community, we build and strengthen our relationships by, and it goes on from there. Relationships are the building blocks of radical welcome. Relationships are the building blocks of radical welcome. Radical welcome is a communal, covenantal, spiritual practice that gets us all closer to beloved community. Before I conclude, I'd like to invite any of you who want to go deeper into conversation about the transformational culture shift that can result from radical welcome to look for an announcement, something in the newsletter, something on the website. I'm considering forming a radical welcome team if there's interest in taking this a little deeper. And I'd like to conclude with this quote from Peter Morales, former president of the Unitarian Universalist Association. The hunger for true religious community, for connection and commitment is pervasive in our time. Our future depends on whether we can connect with people at the level of their deepest longings and highest aspirations. And in the process, we are enriched in spirit. Someone, a long-lost relative of our human family, is coming into our lives. It happens every day. May you and I be there with anticipation in our hearts, warm smiles on our faces, our eyes ready to truly meet the eyes of another, and our arms extended, saying, "Welcome, welcome."